Hello there, thank you for joining us on TVC News at 10. The headlines tonight.
All Progressives Congress holds emergency meeting over Supreme Court's ruling on ZAMFARA elections.
There's jubilation in EKITI State as Supreme Court affirms Governor FAYEMI'S victory.
British Prime Minister Theresa May announces resignation after failing to break Brexit ice.
And in sports, Nigeria's Flying Eagles begin Under-20 World Cup campaign with 4-0 win over Qatar.
Thanks for joining us. The National Working Committee of the APC met in Abuja earlier this evening to consider its options after the Supreme Court nullified its victory in the elections conducted in ZAMFARA State.
The Apex Court earlier today declared that all votes for the All Progressives Congress during the state and National Assembly elections were void. The decision of the party was not formally made known, but there are indications that the party leaders will be seeking the best way to deal with the situation. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission will on Monday announce its decision as concerns the Supreme Court's judgment on elections in that state. The Commission will meet again tomorrow, that's Saturday, to further deliberate on the issues arising from the judgment, while the final decision on the matter will be communicated to the public on Monday, INEC said.
After 8 months of legal battle, the governorship election tussle in EKITI State has finally been laid to rest. That's because the Supreme Court has dismissed the appeal filed by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate, Kolapo Lushola. It upheld the judgment of the appeal court, which ruled that Governor FAYEMI was credibly elected during the 14th July 2018 election. The EKITI State capital Ado-Ekiti, APC supporters thronged the government house there, singing celebration songs. Speaking to the supporters, Governor FAYEMI thanked party faithful for celebrating his victory at the polls and the Supreme Court for ending the legal battle.
I must thank the Supreme Court for putting a finality to these endless litigations that we've been dealing with. It affords us the opportunity to concentrate on why we have been elected. We've been working on regardless, but there's no question that distraction is bound to happen when you have endless cases in court. What the Supreme Court has done for us as a state and as a people is to save us the trouble of having to worry unnecessarily about what the trial court or the appeal court or the Supreme Court was going to do in our case. That is over now, and we can just get on with the business of governance.
All is now set for the inauguration of President Muhammadu Buhari to kick off his second tenure on May the 29th. Members of the Inauguration Committee arrived at this conclusion in Abuja while inspecting and assessing the activities for the day. Correspondent Tijesu Adioye has more.
This is a feel of what to expect at the presidential inauguration come May the 29th. Preparations are in top gear and all hands on deck to ensure that the occasion is successful. Although the Minister of Information had earlier disclosed that the celebration will be low-key, the inaugural committee is here to ensure the celebration is top-notch.
I think we are good to go. We are taking care of all the minute details to ensure that nothing happens. But we're trusting God that this will be one of the most memorable swearing-in ceremonies.
We've all witnessed the parade, the lowering of flag, the exchange of new flag, and the oath taking. The whole idea is to ensure that we rectify whatever shortcomings or mistakes before the D-Day.
Despite the security challenges in some parts of the country, the committee assures that the security operatives are working hard to ensure the event is safe and peaceful. Tijesu Adeoye, TVC News, Abuja.
It appears there's no going back on the executive order mandating the immediate removal of trucks and tankers from roads and bridges in Apapa area of Lagos. The Presidential Taskforce team has held meetings with operators in the ports to fine-tune modalities on how to meet with the deadline, which is less than 24 hours away. TVC News Maritime correspondent FAYEMI'S reports.
This is the situation we met when we got to Apapa this morning.
The Apapa traffic situation is still chaotic, despite the president's 72-hour ultimatum directing truck drivers to evacuate the roads and bridges. The Presidential Taskforce on Apapa Gridlock must come up with a workable compliance template if the directive must work.
The trucks and tankers made it difficult for other motorists to move freely. This is even as the police and other traffic managers try to control the chaotic situation. The president had ordered all trucks and tankers to vacate the Lagos Seaport corridor by the end of Saturday.
When there's no guidelines, when there's no rules, people will not, fall in line. But now that there's the directive from the president, everybody has fallen in line, and we are trying to educate our people, disseminate the information to them that it's a must for everybody to leave the road. And in fact, beside the task force from the federal government, we on our own, the truck owners, will set up our own task force that will make sure that the order is carried out to the letter.
Compliance will be upheld because this executive order is now coming directly from the president himself. So I think by the time by the end of today or tomorrow, we see what happens. But for now, the things are still the way it was, because there is no improvement yet.
It was in the midst of this that the vice chairman of the Presidential Task Force stopped over and directed security agents to maintain order. Moving on to a meeting with relevant groups in the port, the task force team stated its resolve to enforce the president's directive.
The next line of action is to follow, which is the most important one, follow through with the presidential directive to the letter, in line with the position canvassed by the stakeholders that there is no problem for them to adhere to the implementation.
Issues are being addressed. Problems and challenges that possibly arise have been voiced out by all the stakeholders, and we believe that with this we should be able to address the issues before the tax team go back to Abuja.
It is expected that in 2 weeks the Lagos Seaport corridor would be free from traffic congestion. FAYEMI'S, TVC News, Lagos.
And now to Katsina State, where the Governor Aminu Bello Masari has handed out a tough penalty to anyone convicted of cattle rustling or kidnapping. The penalty is death. The governor similarly signed into law the penalty for rape, stating it carries the mandatory sentence of life imprisonment in addition to a fine and compensation to victims. Now, these decrees come on the heels of recent attacks in the state, the latest being the attack on 3 communities in different local government areas. In reaction to the killings, President Muhammadu Buhari had summoned Governor Masari and ordered the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, and Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Olonishaki, to constitute an assessment team to investigate the cause of insecurity in the state.
Now, the Legal Aid Council says it's working to ensure that people living in rural areas have easy access to justice. It believes this can be achieved by providing paralegal services to indigent communities. TVC News correspondent Celestina Area has more.
According to the United Nations, access to justice is a basic principle of the rule of law. Inability to access justice leaves people unable to have their voice heard, exercise their rights, challenge discrimination, or hold decision makers accountable. Majority of Nigerians, 198 million population, live in rural communities where access to legal representation is usually hard to come by. Community problems such as language and distance make lawyers inaccessible and poses serious problems to getting justice, hence the need for a paralegal. A paralegal is someone who is trained in the rudiments of law to assist a legal practitioner in the process of criminal justice system within the society.
The lawyers we have who are supposed to assist the criminal justice system are not adequate. Like most other things in this country, they are not adequate and they are not enough. So, and even those of them that are available are actually found only within the cities and some other urban areas. So you hardly find legal practitioners who operate within our communities and other slum areas of our system.
We've got about 100,000 lawyers, and the recent numbers from UNFPA says that we are 201 million. Clearly, the ratio doesn't add up in terms of getting legal services to everybody out there.
The underprivileged and vulnerable members of the society, who amount for over 70% of the population, are also unable to afford lawyers and need the services of a paralegal. There are over 100,000 lawyers throughout the Federation within a population of over 198 million, which is basically a ratio of one lawyer to every 1,700 people.
Lawyers are mostly urban-based. That means who helps those in the rural communities? Lawyers provide services that you have to pay for. Poor people cannot afford those. So you see these community-based paralegals actually provide a needed service in their communities.
Ensuring that the indigents and vulnerables in the society get justice is a basic social responsibility of the government. But as citizens, we can help mediate, educate and enlighten them on their fundamental human rights. And as lawyers, take up pro bono cases to ensure that their voice is heard. Celestina Iria, TVC News, Abuja.
You're watching TVC News at 10. Coming up.
Civil activists outline agenda for anti-corruption fight in President Buhari's second term.
And also ahead, Nigerian Customs Service begins electronic auction of contraband goods. Details in a moment. Good evening. Are you in your toilet? Funab, good evening. Hi. It's like you're looking down on your device. Can you tilt it up? Okay, it's looking better now. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Keep it steady. But the audio, it's... hello? Can you say something? It's not clear. There is noise. No audio, just noise. Your earpiece is not good. Can you remove it? Let's test if you're going to be audible.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Oh, great. Yes. Go back to the previous. Yes. Please maintain the shots like that.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
It looks funny.
Keep the camera steady, though.
It's just the volume.
Can you hear me? Hello, hello.
Hello.
It's
Hello,
okay over here, and it's quite clear. Yes, I can hear you.
I can barely hear you.
You can barely hear me. Hello, 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 hello.
Is it me that you're
Hello.
looking for?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Yeah, increase the volume of your device. Maybe you can hear me. Or you try removing your earpiece. Let's see if it's going to be louder for you. Your audio is gone again. Funam, remove your earpiece. Funam, remove your earpiece. So. Is it from the device, of course, definitely. Funam, can you hear me? He can't hear me. Hello, hello. Nah, no.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me clearly? Hello, Funam.
Hello?
Hi, Funam, Joshua.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Is it clear? I can hear you loud and clear. Or is it clear?
It's clear.
Over there?
It's loud and clear now.
Loud and clear. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We hope it's like that when we come back
to
you.
Glad to have you join us again. As government struggles to find a lasting solution to the farmer-header clashes, which has claimed hundreds of lives, leaders of Birom and Fulani caterers are appealing to locals to go about their businesses without fear.
But this comes as the 2019 farming season begins. Our Plateau State correspondent, Funam Joshua, reports.
The farmer-herder violence has killed more than 10,000 people and displaced hundreds of thousands more. It is estimated that more than 1,300 herders and farmers have lost their lives since the conflict escalated in 2018. The conflict evolved from spontaneous reactions to provocations to deadlier planned attacks, particularly in states like Plateau, Adamawa, Benue, and Taraba. It has cost the country a lot in terms of destroyed farm produce and livestock. The 2019 farming season has come around, and leaders of both Birom and Fulani communities are eager to prevent a recurrence of what happened in 2018. They want this year's farming season to be violence-free.
Cattle rearers rear their cattle in peace. Farmers do go to their farms and grow their crops in peace. Because at the end of the day, a culture of poverty is now being institutionalized. When you cannot grow your crops, when the dry season comes, what will you eat?
We are going into the farming season. We have a lot of experience, bitter experience, that you will spend a lot sum of money buying fertilizer, till the land, farm, plant your fruit, your crops. At the end of the day, when they are coming home, you are happy that you are going to have good harvest at the end of the day. Overnight. We have a lot of experience like that.
Both the two parties are doing everything possible to create tension in the areas. But we leaders, we are collaborating in working in synergy with them, with security agencies, to open all the blocked passages, to make sure that animals didn't trespass into farmlands, and we are working on it.
The commander of Operation Safe Haven and the state government, on their part, said proper measures have been put in place for a successful 2019 farming and grazing season.
The most essential thing that we are trying to encourage is that everybody must respect every other vocation. And we are encouraging especially the farmers to go to the fight, especially for those who have farmlands in the hinterland, because of the fear they do not and apprehensions and of being attacked or being what. But that is being allayed now. Those fears are being allayed because I have a good deployment and good sources of information gathering from the hinterland. So we are encouraging all the farmers to practice their vocation fully.
But most importantly also is to appeal to members of the public, especially people who live around there, to avoid things that will flare up those crises that were there before. We also are mobilizing the security sources to be able to provide the necessary cover in that period.
With the commencement of the 2019 farming season, it is important for farmers and herders to forget their differences and embrace each other for a peaceful coexistence. Funom Joshua, TVC News, Jos, Plateau State.
Well, our correspondent in Plateau State, Funom Joshua, joins us now via Skype to discuss the resolutions made at the meeting. How significant is the position of these leaders, especially those of Birom and Fulani, as regards keeping peace this famine season?
Looking at the situations they used to have sometimes back, years back, most especially during the farming season. Now, with this effort, they've actually assured that they've talked to their words concerning the farming, this 2019 farming season, and they've assured them that yes, at least they will shield their sword, forget their differences, to see that 2019 farming season, comes, and goes successfully without any violent clash between the Fulanis and the Birom. So the certainty the certainty and the assurance from the people, convince them that yes, with what they actually said, they are hoping that 2019 will not experience, such violent clash between the two parties.
You spoke with the commander of Operation Safe Haven, who seemed to have assured the people that proper measures have been put in place. Help us understand the current security infrastructure as it is now in that area.
No, there are a lot of deployment. The Operation Safe Haven here, the Operation Rainbow, the state-owned security outfits here are already on ground, and according to the commander and other security outfits head of chiefs that we talked to them, they've deployed series of different squads to that particular environment to make sure that such occurrence do not occur this farming season. And with what they actually said, and they believe that what is currently on ground actually prevents the situation. So the security service here, like he said, they are on top of their gear, and with what they are saying and the cooperation they're having from the people, this year's farming season is going to be a successful one.
How confident do you think the people are in these assuring words we've gotten from their leaders as well as security operatives?
Well, everybody is tired now. Everybody is tired, and everybody is hoping and struggling to live in peace. So the commitment from the people down there, we spoke to some of them, and they also assured us that this year, they are doing their best to make sure that they don't, and like from the Fulani parts, some of the guys we talked to, they said they will actually respect their boundaries with the Biroms, and they will also do their best to make sure that they live in peace with their fellow with their fellow neighbors, being the Birom. So with the way things are currently going, we are 100% sure. Let me say it that way, because I was there in some of the communities. I spoke with the Fulani and also the Biroms, at the hinterland, and they gave us their words that they will do their best to make sure that this year they don't experience such situations.
Indeed, we look forward to a peaceful farming season, especially now that leaders of both the Birom natives and the Fulani headsmen are giving assuring words. Thank you for talking to us, Funom Joshua.
Let's now bring you the latest on efforts against insurgency. The Nigerian Armed Forces have taken steps towards conducting better joint operations to fight Boko Haram and other security challenges in the country. A 2-week joint operations course conducted under the British Military Assistance Program for officers drawn from the military and paramilitary organizations has ended. Defense correspondent Siphonis Yen reports.
These officers would probably be the ones engaged in planning and coordinating operations against Boko Haram and other criminal elements threatening the security of the nation. The Defense Headquarters organizes training with the assistance of the British forces. The participants are drawn from the Army, Navy, Air Force, law enforcement and emergency response agencies.
All these groups will be trained. The groups will be trained so that we have a common effort.
For 2 weeks, the participants were schooled on how to better plan joint operations. The Chief of Defense Staff weeks back identified poor coordination as a reason for the failure to stem the tide of insecurity, which is why this training was held.
Open up economic activity.
30 participants completed the course.
Earlier, we approach conflict, especially when we are going to make it kinetic, that is the use of force, Army, Navy, Air Force. We go it alone, sometimes with the police. But now, this course has brought up the importance of carrying everybody along from the planning stage.
The Defense Headquarters sees this as an inch towards realizing its dream of better operations.
We are on the path to achieving that, and you can see that's why we have all departments of most departments of government that are really stakeholders in this campaign. We have this principle of all government approach, and that's why you have seen that we brought everyone, and then everyone has a role to play.
While the participants will be returning back to their units, Nigerians expect improved security across the country. Sifon Asian, TVC News, Abuja.
You're watching TVC News at 10. We have more stories coming up after this break. Stay with us.
The Navy accused this Delta State indigene of leading a gang of crude oil theft and illegal oil bunkering. Officers say they acted on credible information that the suspect had concluded plans to lift stolen crude from locations in Akwa Ibom and Rivers States before their arrest. The alleged criminal activities were then traced to Ghana, Greece, and the United States of America.
Our preliminary investigation and self-confession by Mr. Osimili further revealed that he's been actively involved in sourcing stolen crude oil from Nigerian creeks to Platinum Gas Oil Refinery in Tema, Ghana, which is under the umbrella of the Petrogres Incorporation, with offices in Greece and the United States of America. He attested to his involvement in the alleged economic and maritime related crimes, and evidence available to us suggests that illicit crimes have been going on for a while. We have the names of facilitators and accomplices.
The Navy also links the suspects to kidnapping of 5 foreign nationals and 2 Nigerians in April 2019.
The arrest was premised on the knowledge that the suspect had credible information on a pirate attack reported on board MT Apacos on the 19th of April 2019, where 5 Indians and 2 Nigerians were abducted and taken away to an unknown creek in Bayelsa. Contrary to the initial reports that the 5 Indians and the 2 Nigerians were abducted by pirates, our own investigations revealed that the abduction was rather as a result of a failed crude oil theft collaboration, where the aggrieved syndicate resorted to the abduction of the 5 Indians as well as the 2 Nigerians.
But the prime suspect maintains his innocence.
Even when Apacos left into Nigeria, I was not aware. I was never aware. It was only when it came to Nigeria that I was informed, and then when it was hijacked and then kidnapped, that is when I was called that the Apacos had been hijacked. Some of the crew members had been kidnapped, and I should see what I can do to bring them. That they were in Port Harcourt. I should see how I can bring them into Bonny for safety.
The suspects were handed over to the Nigerian police for further investigation and possible prosecution. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Port Harcourt.
The Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center says the next phase of President Muhammadu Buhari's anti-corruption program must be anchored on a clear strategy, active support, and the involvement of citizen groups, including the legislature. The group briefed journalists in Abuja. TVC News correspondent Kemi Balogun was there.
This civil society center is concerned that corruption remains pervasive and perhaps a single factor behind the continuous depreciation of the socio-economic capital of Nigeria. And it says this is contrary to the promises made by the government to rid Nigeria of corruption on the onset of the administration in 2015. According to the 2018 Transparency International Corruption Index report, Nigeria scored 27 out of 100 points. Civil society activists believe that the anti-corruption fight must prioritize prevention and sanction to win back public support and increase the cost of corruption for everyone, no matter their office.
Nigeria has not improved in the international comparison in regard to perception of corruption. As a matter of fact, you do not even need international organization to tell you that there's a corruption. Everyone knows that there's a corruption in Nigeria, and I don't think this is contention.
Nigerian government has covered quite a lot of ground when it comes to the fight against corruption in the last 4 years, like the creation of the National Strategic Plan of Anti-Corruption in 2017. Nigerians still believe that a lot more needs to be done in the area of implementation.
There are certain things you see in the society that does not really tell the truth about the corruption fight. Yes, it's a good fight, but it tends to be a little one-sided.
Statistics has shown that Nigeria is among one of the countries that have or has a high prevalence of corruption. So we encourage the federal government of Nigeria to fight this corruption scourge. It has eaten deeply into the fabrics of Nigerian.
Expectations are that this administration should ensure that the key sectors of the country, like the petroleum sector, health and education, should be cleaned up and rid of corruption. This, they say, will cut down on the continual deterioration of the country's economy. Kemi Balogun, TVC News, Abuja.
Now, former President Goodluck Jonathan believes that the Bayelsa Education Development Trust Fund will promote education and deal with youth unrest and militancy in Bayelsa State. Dr. Jonathan spoke at the launch of the education project in the state's capital, where he commended Governor Sereka Dixon for sustaining a policy geared towards changing the narrative. Ovietimi George was there.
Bayelsa has been among the first 5 best-performing states in the West African Examinations Council and the National Examination Council results in the past 5 years. This was only achieved after a declaration of a state of emergency in the education sector in 2012. 2018. At the launch of the Bayelsa Education Development Trust Fund, Governor Sereka Dixon appointed former President Goodluck Jonathan honorary special advisor to attract donations to the project.
If we don't want young boys and girls from the creeks of Niger Delta to always take over arms and try to overrun the oil companies, then we must educate these people. The governor has gone much higher than we projected 2006 in terms of the expansion of our educational web. I'm known all over the world because I was able to go to school.
The education project is conceived for many reasons.
It's actually intended to support teachers' training, to the Students' Loan Board, in addition to what we are giving, to the Science and Technical Education Board, and it supports probably one of the most revolutionary and comprehensive educational development policies ever enunciated by any government that we know in this country. Our aim is to make education accessible to all our people, because that's the only tool we have to fight this oppression and to equip our people to survive and excel in an increasingly competitive and globalized environment.
Students and the youth are direct beneficiaries of the trust fund.
This fund is going to help those that are unable to go to school. In that way, we will have less people to carry armed guns to go around and cause trouble in our nation.
Some parents may have aspired to be engineers, doctors, lawyers, or even journalists, but their dreams never came through. But today, the Bayelsa State Education Development Trust Fund opens a vista of hope for youths of indigent parents to pursue and reach their academic dreams in life. Ovieteme George, TVC News, Yenagoa, Bayelsa State.
In Britain, over a dozen persons are already lining up to take over Theresa May's job as Prime Minister. Mrs. May has said she will quit as Conservative leader on June the 7th. May's resignation set up a contest that will bring a new Prime Minister to power who could pursue a cleaner break with the European Union. Let's tell you what we know about a few of those lined up to take up the Prime Minister's job.
Top on the list is Boris Johnson, who is aged 54. The former foreign minister is May's most outspoken critic on Brexit. He resigned from the cabinet in July in protest at her handling of the exit negotiations. He is the bookmaker's favorite to succeed May. Esther McVie is another top contender. The pro-Brexit former television presenter, who resigned as Work and Pensions Minister in November, in protest at May's exit deal with the European Union, has said she plans to run in the leadership contest. Andrea Leadsom, a pro-Brexit campaigner also. Leadsom made it to the last two in the 2016 contest to replace David Cameron. She withdrew after a backlash to an interview in which she said being a mother gave her more of a stake in the future of the country than a rival, Theresa May. Rory Stewart was a diplomat who once walked 6,000 miles across Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, and Nepal. Stewart was promoted to International Development Secretary this month after holding several junior ministerial positions. One of the highest profile Brexit campaigners during the 2016 referendum is Michael Gove. He had to rebuild his cabinet career after falling early to May in the contest to replace Cameron, who resigned the day after losing the referendum. He has not yet said whether he plans to run. Jeremy Hunt. 52-year-old Jeremy Hunt replaced Johnson as foreign minister in July and has urged the Conservative membership to set aside their differences over Brexit and unite against a common foe, the EU. Coming days and weeks will be crucial in defining how British politics will go, particularly in recovering what is left in a desire to exit Europe on favourable grounds.
Watching TVC News at 10. Up next is Business News, and Sarah Yeko standing by.
Welcome to Business News. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, says the monetary and fiscal authorities will continue to initiate extraordinary measures to tackle the country's economical issues. Mr. Emefiele was speaking at the Distinguished Leadership Program Lecture Series at the University of Ibadan, Oyo State. Business editor Tolulokwe Ogunjobi was there.
The Central Bank of Nigeria's Act of 2007 of the Federal Republic of Nigeria charges the bank with the overall control and administration of the monetary and fiscal sector's policy of the federal government. In recent times, analysts have picked holes in some policy initiatives of the central bank. The governor used this opportunity to clear the air on some of these issues. He spoke on the topic, Up Against the Tide, Nigeria's heterodox monetary policy and the Bretton Woods Consensus.
Under the Agricultural Program, the program has helped to bolster agricultural production by removing obstacles faced by smallholder farmers. We have also improved access to markets for farmers by facilitating greater partnership with agro-processors and industrial firms in the sourcing of raw materials. So far, the program has supported more than 1 million people, smallholder farmers, across all the 36 states of Nigeria, in cultivating 16 different commodities over 1.1 million hectares of farmland. It has also supported the creation of over 2.5 million jobs across the agricultural value chain.
Experts at this gathering agreed that the Apex Bank has done very well in managing inflation building forex reserves, maintaining FX stability, and fostering real growth.
From its peak of 18.72% in January 2017 and today at 11.37% as at April 2018. On research, the introduction of the INEC window, along with improvement in domestic production of goods, have helped shore up our external reserves. Transactions have attained over $48 billion since the inception of this window, and our foreign exchange reserves has risen to over $45 billion as at April 2019 from $23 billion in October 2016.
The CBN has increased its lending to the agricultural and manufacturing sectors through targeted intervention schemes such as the Anchor Borrowers Program, Commercial Agricultural Credit Scheme, and the Real Sector Support Facility. All the efforts in conjunction with the fiscal and authorities culminated in a rebound of the nation's economy during the second quarter of 2017. This is an indication that the economy requires both conventional and unconventional monetary approach to stimulate sustainable economic growth in Nigeria.
The message from the Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele at this gathering is straight. Lack of respect for government and economic policies will no longer be condoned. He said the Apex Bank will continue to work on policies that will help address poverty issues, improve the agricultural sector, and create jobs for the teeming youths. Tolulope Ogunjobi, TVC News, Ibadan, Oyo State.
Now, the Nigerian stock market closed the week in red following dropping prices in market groups. This happened as European markets showed indifference to UK politics. Let's turn to Effiong for a detailed report.
Service-based
After more than a week of booming trade, the nation's stock markets returned to negative territory this Friday. Dropping stock prices in key sectors wasn't the market condition. Big cap stocks like MTN, Nigerian Breweries, Unilever, Stanbic IBTC and Access Bank all went down in the afternoon. Now, one thing is important from MTN. The scarcity associated with its shares after listing is gradually reducing. In the markets today, MTN shares were available to the volume of 10 million units, so investors can now buy MTN. Everything dragged down the index to the region of nearly 2% at the close of business. Now let's look at the performance of some of the European markets. You may have heard that British Prime Minister Theresa May has given Parliament indication that she's about to resign from office. From the London Exchange to France and Germany, markets stayed in green, giving surprises to many analysts. UK's Brexit has finally swallowed Prime Minister May after 3 years of negotiation. Effiong Ekop, TVC News at the Stock Exchange.
And crude oil prices have relaxed at the various market centers as some analysts fear unstable trade conditions. The prime European Brent crashed to $67 in early trade on Friday. Meanwhile, trade war has crossed the UK as China warns of investment blows if Britain blocks its technology. When the news at 10 returns, Nigeria's Flying Eagles begin Under-20 World Cup campaign with a 4-0 win over Qatar. That's some sports news after the break. Stay with us.
Continues and looks to go all the way.
Hello and welcome to sports. To begin with the Women's World Cup, Super Falcons striker Desire Okparanozie, Onome Ebi and Asisado Shuala topped the list of 23 players who have been included in Nigeria's final squad for the 8th FIFA Women's World Cup finals coming up in France. The list, which was made public on Friday evening by the Nigeria Football Federation, also includes Tochukwu Oluehi, Osinachi Ohale, Ngozi Ebere, Rita Chikwelu, Ngozi Okobi, Halimatu Ayinde, Rashidat Ajibade and Francesca Odega. Defender Chidinma Okeke made the cut, so also midfielders Amarachi Okoronkwo, Evelyn Nwaboku and home-based forward Alice Ogebe, but defender Josephine Chukwunonye and England-based forward Ini Abasi Omotong were dropped. The Super Falcons will depart the camp in Austria for France. That will be next Tuesday. Nigeria will play Norway, Korea Republic and host nation France in the group phase. And Nigeria delivered a bold statement of intent with a 4-0 thumping of Qatar in their Group D curtain raiser at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup going on in Poland. The Flying Eagles, who were runners-up at the tournament in 1989 and 2005, saw 2-0 up inside 25 minutes with goals from Maxwell Effiong and Henry Ofia. Manchester City midfielder Tom Dele Bashiru put the game out of the reach of Qatar with a third goal before Aliyu Salawuddin's shot completed the rout.
Qatar 0, Nigeria 2.
The teams return to action on Monday when Qatar will face Ukraine and Nigeria will face the United States. In other stories, the first black African woman to conquer Mount Everest has urged fellow Africans to follow in her footsteps and make it a norm as she set herself a new challenge to scale the highest peaks on 7 continents. South African Sarah Nkusi Khumalo stood up on top of world's highest mountain on her 4th attempt last week after earlier expeditions were foiled by a frostbite, an avalanche and deadly earthquake. The 47-year-old e-commerce executive, who has conquered 5 mountains including Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, Aconcagua in Argentina and Mount Elbrus in Russia, uses her expeditions to raise funds for children's education and libraries in Africa. About 5,000 climbers have ascended Everest since it was first scaled by Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay Sherpa in 1953, but only about 550 of them were women.
It is a humbling title. It is an opportunity, but I'm very much aware and cognizant of the fact that it comes with a lot of responsibilities. But it's almost, I feel like saying it's damn about time, you know, that we also got a seat at the table. The mountain was first summited in 1953. What have we been waiting for? And I'm hoping that young climbers come after me and just make it the norm.
And let's talk tennis now. First round draws of this year's French Open has handed the top seeds comfortable starts. The third-seeded Roger Federer will open his quest for a second Musketeers Cup against Italian Lorenzo Sonego, but faces a potentially tricky quarterfinal against young Greek Stefanos Tsitsipas, who beat him at this year's Australian Open. Defending champion Rafael Nadal will open his campaign against the qualifier as he aims for a record-extending 12th title at Roland Garros, while world number 1 Novak Djokovic will take on Hubert Hurkacz.
To be here again, and of course, is a good news. No, when you see tournaments that are improving, are doing new things. So, from the player side, we just can say thanks to Roland Garros and the French Federation for all the great things that they are doing for our sport.
And in the women's draw, world number 1 Naomi Osaka will kick off her bid for a maiden French Open title against Slovak Anna Carolina Shmyelova. Defending champion Simona Halep of Romania will take on Australian Aya Tomnavich. Serena Williams will face Vitalia Diachenko in only her second match on clay this season, while 2017 champion Yelena Ostapenko squares off against two-time Grand Slam winner Victoria Azarenka. Meanwhile, the men's tennis singles players Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic, all of them practiced on the red clay of the Roland Garros Stadium in Paris on Thursday. Federer and Djokovic have each won once in 2009 and 2016 respectively, while Nadal has won a record of 11 and is the current defending champion. The 123rd edition of the French Open is due to begin on May the 26th, and the men's winner will be crowned on June the 9th. Well, that's sports now. Back to you.
Thank you, IK, for the update in sport.
And with that, we wrap it up on TVC News at 10. And remember that you can get more stories on all our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Our handle is at TVC News NG. You can also go to our website for the latest stories. It is tvcnews.tv. There are stories within Nigeria and the rest of the world there. They're on GoTV channel 45 and Play TV channel 190. Thank you for watching and bye for now.